All right, everyone, welcome back to the Ned Hills of Southern Indiana. Admittedly, it's been probably 2.5 weeks at least since I worked on this thing. Been a lot of things going on. Took a little trip to Florida with some friends. Had a good time down there last week, so definitely was no work done on this. Definitely not on the Jeep, but we had a lot of fun. So time to get back after it here a little bit. Got the Daytona 500 playing in the background. If you're hearing something on the TV, what I want to do is take a real quick glimpse of this thing, see what it looks like when it's all put together, and then gonna head back inside. Got another set of sawhorses set up, and we're going to start taking this thing apart. Got to do some learning, get them books out, maybe watch a few videos, you know, make sure we're trying to do this the best we can with what we got. The old 25 there. This thing's leaking oil. You pull them down, it's just running out of there. See it? Got new seals in its future if we go ahead and use this anyway. So obviously going to rebuild the whole thing, just like the rear axle. I'm not real sure about that. That looks like it's going to be just a boatload of fun. So stick around. We'll see what we can do. Here we go. All right, we got the Daytona 500 on mute here. I wanted to document pulling this cover off. The rear diff was full of water mostly, and it's pretty thin. You can see the drops coming out. Pinion. Not quite sure what we're gonna get, so we'll set up the camera here and pull that cover off, see what happens. All right, here we go. Maybe. See how tight this one's on. Oh, popped right off. Do a little roll back here. That actually looks like gear oil. The other one was water. Oh yeah, that's a lot better. Actually real oil. Gear oil coming out of there. Not even rusted up. So I guess just the pinion seal was leaking. Cool. A lot less to clean up. All right, we're on the front differential here. I get the cover off. And when I did the rear differential, I had a comment that the caps were on upside down and that I should not put them on in the same orientation that they were. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me at the time. I didn't really look at it too close, but now I think I know what they were talking about. Let's see if I can get my finger up here in the way. You see this sideways looking S or 8 is directly outboard of this one. And there's, like I said, they're sideways. This one on this side, and get my finger in the right place. This one's up and down, and the stamp over here next to it is up and down. Well, let's go take a look at that rear differential, the one that the gentleman pointed out in the comments. You can go back to that video and read what he said, but he basically said don't put the caps back on the way they came off because they were oriented incorrectly. We'll take a look at this real quick. All right, let me get situated here. Trying to throw some shade on here. The window's blinding in here. You can see the two here. Okay, so I marked them. You can see the mark here and the mark here. So these are the way the caps came off when I opened it up. I marked them before I pulled the bolts out. You can see the two here. Nice to have a mouse with a pointer on it right now. All right, so you can see the two there. And then you see the other stamp over here, and they're facing opposite directions. They're both sideways, but they're not matching up. So let's go over here. Those are the marks I stamped into it there, and those two right there. That's how it was bolted on when I opened it up. You can barely see the number 2 right there. It's standing up and down, right? Let me go over here. This one's upside down. But I think what he meant, and maybe I'll reach back out to him and find out to make sure, is that this, I'll do this all with the camera running here. There. Now, I got the 2 upside down there. And the 2, you can barely see it. Where's he at? Right there. Get a view of it. There you can see a little better. They're marked up to each other, right? So this one, let's flip him over. And zoom back down here. There's a number 2 there. And it would be facing the same direction. But those caps are upside down compared to where I had pulled them off when I opened the covers. Now that all, what he said makes perfect sense given the front diff, what I saw there. And the reason that matters again is that when they put this all together and they machine these things, the caps are, you know, they're line board. They're machined through there to be straight with each other. And if you flip them over or whatever, you might get that line bore off a little bit, which means your ring and pinion, when you bolt it all in there, it's not lined up the way it was machined to be. So you guys tell me, throw some comments down there. Let me know what you think. It makes perfect sense to me what the gentleman said, and I've never worked on differentials before, but I do know from working on engines that these, you know, these races, especially like on a crank or a cam or whatever, they're line bored, and you have to get the caps on the same orientation you took them off, or they could be well, exaggerated here. Keep my finger out of the film. So if it was line bored this way and you were to flip it over, the cap could be, you know, off. Obviously I'm exaggerating there, but it could line up incorrectly like that. And sometimes a little bit is just enough to really mess up your bearings, and they ride sideways and could really mess things up, especially in a crank on a car. Do some major damage if those things aren't right. So again, no experience on these myself. If you got an opinion on it, or if you're a person that works on these or whatever, throw a comment down below and let me know what you think. All right, well, hey, it's Monday morning. I did some more video watching while the race was on last night. And between the book here, this is an older version. I got the new one inside. Kaiser Willys has the real good breakdowns of all these systems on these old Jeeps, so you can see the whole parts breakdown there. And this front axle. Then I got my Chilton manual. Of course, the actual service manual from Willys is probably way better, but I don't have one of those. I got the breakdown here. Watched some YouTube, 7-bar salvage. Does a real good, several videos actually on these front ends, different things that he's done on there. I'll put a little link up there. Another great resource for these old Jeeps. So one thing he mentioned was using the right tool for these. I don't know if we can really see it, but he speaks about getting the right tool and how people use a hammer and a punch or whatever to put these on. You can see how these this nut on here is all chewed up, where somebody did exactly that. So I found the tool online a couple different places. It's actually on Amazon for like $10 or $11. So I'm gonna order one of those. I think other than just taking basic stuff off of this thing. We're kind of at a standstill for this week. I've got all of the brake lines and stuff off last night. Not a huge issue. I didn't pull this hub off yet. Just a matter of pulling that nut and the hub slides right off. There are some shims in there. Gotta make sure you don't lose those. That's what gives you your distance on the knuckle inside here. These things don't use a U-joint like we're used to these days. We'll do a little more looking at those when I get this thing torn apart. At any rate, got the wire out, with the nut and the shims are all, kept together here. I know where everything comes off. Eggshells, a little tray there. Everything on this side is going to go in there. Everything on that side will go in that one. When the time comes, if we need to get it out of the way, we'll bag it all up, mark it left and right, and then we will know where stuff comes from. All right, so these things, this one's got a locking nut of some sort on it. It's not as bad as I thought it was. I got all the grease off of it. Soaked it down with some PB Blaster. There is a tool with pins in it. Drops in here and here with an opening in the middle so you can get your impact down in there. I'm gonna see about using the old welder over there. Making a tool myself. We'll see what happens with that. Soaking this one, same thing. It's not a lock washer in this case, but it's plenty corroded. It's been soaking for a few weeks. So before I go through the trouble of beating myself up with an impact, figure I'd just let them soak up with the PB. And we'll take it from there. So try to do a little something here this week, especially if we get that tool in. Show you guys what we find. Until then, take it easy.